Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Just Sayin, but we're actually rebranding. Today, and moving forward, we're going to be discussing the history of Mesopotamia. Specifically, the years between 2300 BC and 2000 BC. The history of Mesopotamia No, I'm just kidding. April Fools! Ah!
When you mentioned the dates... Oh, wait, no, BC is backwards. Yep. Never mind. This is why I dropped out of the call.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Just Saying. We are not rebranding and reforming into a History of Mesopotamia podcast. That's next year. No, I'm just kidding. We're glad to be here. I am Shay, as always, with
Jairus.
And we have a lot to discuss today. So I think we're going to just get right into it. And that this week means Daredevil 5, episode 5 and 6.
That's right. Released 2 episodes for the week. Wow. What a 2 episodes it was. First off, for episode 5, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
We had a bank robbery.
Are we playing GTA or what?
Weird. We got a bank robbery and Daredevil Born Again before GTA 6.
Oh.
Anyway.
So sad.
I like this episode. It was a kind of like a stay at home, very isolated in its environment. And I really thoroughly enjoyed it. The assistant bank manager's name, which
Yusuf.
I completely forgot.
Yusuf Khan.
Is the father of
Kamala Khan,
which is
Miss Marvel.
That's right. So I think they're doing a good job of kind of integrating Daredevil into the MCU with, those little subtle hints and it being in New York and all. This was an episode where the entirety of the episode I was expecting for Matt Murdock to just let loose. And I kind of liked how they kind of built it up, kind of that tension. Here's the danger that's going on. He was trying to get a loan for his law firm, and he was unfortunately denied. So he leaves the law firm. That's when the robbery takes place. And he goes back after hearing the commotion and kind of acts like just a hostage, for most of the episode. And yeah, just felt like a real world scenario that would take place, and I liked it. So what'd you think, Shay?
Yeah, the robbers were in there trying to steal a diamond. This took place on St. Paddy's Day. Very funny because the robbers were part of the Irish, which I did not know until watching deep dive into the episode. Thanks, shout out Emergency Awesome YouTube channel. They're part of the Irish gang, which is one of the gangs of the sub bosses underneath the Kingpin. Which also in that episode, Luca, who is part of that Irish gang, visited the Kingpin in the mayor's office and basically told him he's not getting his 1.8 million that Luca owes him and Vanessa. So the robbery was that took place in episode 6. The robbery was to try to get the money, but it didn't go well because Daredevil saved the day. They were trying to steal a diamond that would have most likely given that 1.8 million back to Kingpin and Vanessa. But I thought it was a great episode. There was some storytelling, of course. I really loved that Yusuf was involved, and they mentioned Kamala Khan a lot and even had a little Funko Pop of her. I really enjoyed at the end that Matt Murdock accepted his dinner invitation to Jersey City. So are we going to see Matt Murdock and Miss Marvel team up at some point in the MCU? that's something I was not expecting, but that'd be pretty cool, I think. Um, Overall, I thought it was a good episode. Felt kind of like a filler episode to me, but not in like a bad way, because I still thought it was a good episode. There was still action, and right at the end, oh, that robber is never going to walk again.
No, snapped his leg in half.
Yeah, it was not good, but Daredevil ultimately faked out the robbers himself by switching out the diamond for a piece of candy. So Yusuf found the diamond, and presumably all was going to be okay at the bank. And then we get to episode 6.
I just wanted to mention too about that episode. There was a lady there that was apparently a customer, but she was on
the thing. Yeah, that's right.
Was supposed to take the diamond somewhere safe. So I wonder who she is, and if we're gonna see her again. Obviously, she's working for the Kingpin or boss of him or something. But yeah, getting to episode 6, there is a serial killer
Muse
that is on the loose. Creates murals of the corruption that has gone on in New York City, but paints them with his victim's blood.
Yeah, pretty crazy. I applaud Disney for letting Kevin Feige and Marvel get real gritty and dirty, like they are. There were even some F-bombs dropped the last couple episodes, so I really, really like it. And this is ripped right out of the comics. Muse is one of Daredevil's villains who paints murals all over New York City and does it with people's blood.
I can't say I've never seen that concept before, so it was very unique.
Yes.
And I loved it. So White Tiger's daughter,
correct,
goes to Matt Murdock and basically tells him, listen, my dad was really onto something. He was trying to figure something out, and he was really close, and I need somebody to finish his work because, the police aren't going to do anything about it. And they still believe that, she still believes that the police killed her dad. So obviously there's no trust in the NYPD.
Yes. And Murdoch does not give her what she wanted.
Yeah, basically let the system handle it. And then she says, to quote her on what her dad told her, says that, if you want something done, you got to do it yourself. And I was like, oh no, like, is she actually?
Yeah,
she did.
She did. Matt Murdock was obviously visibly shaken, which he's been wrestling the entire series with, giving into the violence of Daredevil and going back to Daredevil. Episode 6 opened up with him having Foggy in his hand, the little placard or whatever from his funeral, and he was reciting a prayer because he is a Catholic. So right away that's the first time we've seen him since Foggy's death accept and take Foggy out of his suit pocket and recite a prayer and all this. So he was already struggling with it at the start of the episode, and seeing White Tiger's daughter, especially after what she said, just made it worse.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back and forth in this episode from Matt Murdock to Kingpin.
Oh yeah.
And like you said to me, Shay, after we watched it, the cinematography was excellent. Just going back and forth, these two men that are trying to fight their true identity, their true nature.
That's right.
To bury it deep inside them.
Kingpin, love him or hate him, appeared to be trying to be a good mayor of New York City. Maybe his policies weren't good or whatever, but he wasn't trying to let his criminal side influence or be a part of his mayorship. And when Luca came to visit him in his office, that was a huge sign of disrespect, especially Luca, saying, we're not going to pay you. So that was a huge sign of disrespect. And then there was a black tie party that the mayor was trying to raise funds for this like port project that he was trying to get couple episodes ago. And all the people he's trying to raise money for pretty much told him he doesn't really do anything. He doesn't actually run the city like we do.
Politely, they told him to fuck off.
Pretty much. And of course, he didn't take well to that. So both the two characters, Daredevil and Kingpin, of course, like that is Daredevil's ultimate villain, Kingpin. They go hand in hand. They have ever since the Netflix series, the opening episode of the Netflix series. So the two parallels, all season really, but especially this episode, were so evident. And it slowly devolved with them going back to their former selves. And man, oh man, did they ever.
Yeah, just mind-blowing. While the serial killer is on the loose, also Kingpin assembles a task force of all the dirty cops, or proclaimed dirty cops of the NYPD, former cops. Gets them all together and says, I don't care how you do it. You guys just get the results, but we need this serial killer taken down, which is kind of ironic because he is against vigilantes.
Well, yeah, he named it the Anti-Vigilante Task Force. They were the founding members, and he's the big thing from like the police chief was overtime. So he said overtime was approved and no body cameras. So there's going to be no accountability for the actions they take.
Yeah. So don't care how you do it. If it's dirty or not, just get the job done.
What I think you were getting on, what is ironic, is their first target is Muse, the serial killer. However, I truly think, because Daredevil also gets to Muse, they will run into each other, and then their target's going to be Daredevil and the Punisher and Spider-Man.
Yeah, I just found it kind of interesting. It's like a anti-vigilante task force assembled with vigilantes.
Yeah.
Like legal vigilantes.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, going back to White Tiger's daughter, she, I fortunately forget her name, which we need to start writing the names down.
Aaliyah.
Yeah. She goes off to the alleged spot in the train tracks where Muse's lair is. And she runs into Muse and gets captured. And Muse is planning to drain all of her blood out for his art.
Yeah, it gets pretty visceral. You see a lot of not very Disney-like things. And especially with Muse drugging her and putting the thing to siphon her blood out of her body. Again, I got to give Disney credit. It really seems like they're hands off and letting Kevin Feige and Marvel run this series the way it should be run. And I give them credit because it's exactly how it should be.
There was torture tools everywhere. There were fucking bodies hanging from the ceiling, severed heads. It was pretty horrific.
Yeah, exactly. So I give them a lot of credit for this. So they did good. But Muse walks out of the lair because he hears something, and is Daredevil charging in. Oh my God.
I was like, oh shit. He's here.
Real. It's finally happening. Because before that, Matt Murdock was going to call the cops after Aaliyah's mom called him, saying she's not anywhere to be found. He called the cops, put the phone down, was like going back and forth, like, do I let the police handle it? I think I should. And he's like, fuck it.
That was an awesome scene when he just said fuck.
Yep. He gets the suit on, he goes after Muse. Him and Muse have a great fight. At least I think it was a great fight. Muse does put up a good fight, lands some punches, but Daredevil ultimately at the end, after a very real and visceral fight, ends up choking Muse out almost to the extent, but then he hears Aaliyah's heartbeat that she's dying. And so he stops and rushes over to give her CPR to bring her back. And when she does come back and wake up, Muse is gone.
Nowhere to be found. So man, who is this Muse? Like, you know, what is he trying to do? Trying to send a message?
I think it's from the very first episode. I think it was the first episode when the therapist is having the book signing and that kid comes up asking if she's accepting new clients because he needs help.
Oh,
And I think that's
all
going to
right.
tie in with the therapist getting caught up in all this and Daredevil having to go after her. Is Daredevil's identity now going to be shown to somebody else? Like, that's what I think.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I like that. So moving on.
Wait.
Wait a minute.
What was going on with
We still
Kingpin
got
while that
one
was going
more.
on?
Exactly. Kingpin walking down the steps. And what does he have in his hand? Well, just an axe.
Cool.
So is he going to cut firewood or do anything like that? Nope. He's going down to his little lair within the cellar with Vanessa's former fiance or like
Love
what she was
interest.
affair.
Yep. Adam.
And yeah. Oh shit.
Yep. He goes on a big spiel, pretty much echoing from the Netflix series, his father, like how Kingpin killed his father because his father was extremely abusive towards him and his mom, and his dad was going to go kill his mom. So he killed his dad with an axe. And he told Adam in his speech, like, the big guy always wins, but sometimes if you know how to use a tool, even the small guy wins. And he unlocks the cellar door and throws the axe to Adam. And Adam takes his opportunity, but it doesn't go well.
No, Kingpin, for a lack of better words, beats the living shit out of him.
Yeah.
Might have killed him. We honestly don't know.
I don't know if we know for certain, but I think he might have because, I mean, Adam tried. He was swinging the axe, tried to hit him, but Kingpin was, even though he's a big guy, which comic book alert, Kingpin's getting fatter, his suit ripped. Kingpin can.
That's a good way to work out, though.
Yeah,
Beating the shit out of somebody.
Yeah, Kingpin can absolutely fight, even though he is a big guy. He can fight, and he's extremely difficult to take down. If, as you would see in the Netflix series, obviously.
Yeah. So that was the end of the episode.
Yeah, episode 7 is tonight as of this recording. I can't wait. There's 9 episodes, so we still have 3 episodes to go. I am really excited for the Punisher to come back into the play because there's footage of him and Daredevil working together and fighting together. So I can't wait for that to happen. I wonder what the hell Kingpin's going to be doing because I think he's given back to his criminal side. And what the fuck is going to go on with Muse?
And how is this going to affect everybody in Daredevil's life?
Yeah.
Like he's tried to, put that side away and try to live a normal life. Like it feels like this is just the start of like the powder keg exploding.
And the biggest question of all, when is Matt Murdock going to Jersey City to have dinner with Yusuf?
That's right. That is the real question. So yeah, that's it for Daredevil. Hopefully you guys are as excited as we are, because it has been quite the ride so far. But we're going to move on to Avengers Doomsday because the first of the cast has been announced officially. So we're going to
first round. There is supposedly more according to the Russo brothers. So just because some names were left off does not mean they're not in the film. Okay, relax.
Including Walter White.
Yeah.
He might be here.
Yes.
So going through the list real quick, we have Thor, Sue Storm, Sam Wilson, Falcon, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Shuri is the Black Panther, Ant-Man, John Walker, Namor, Richard the Spot, Shang-Chi, which I'm really excited to see Shang-Chi, Yelena Belova, Dr. Hayden McCoy, Beast, Sentry, New Falcon, Johnny Storm, Human Torch, Red Guardian, M'Baku, Ghost, Loki, Charles Xavier, Magneto, Nightcrawler, Mystique, Cyclops, Gambit, Mr. Fantastic, and Doctor Doom.
The biggest surprises out of that first batch that they announced are the X-Men characters coming back, like Magneto and Professor X, like those actors, Patrick Stewart coming back to play. Oh my god!
And Magneto,
Ooh.
Ian McKellen.
Oh,
I can't wait.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking sick.
I was so excited when they announced him and Magneto.
Yeah, that I was not expecting that to be honest, but my god, I'm glad they did. But that does lead into a question. Because this is only the first batch of announcements. There's still more to come. Is it going to be too much to keep track of for this movie? Is it a dilution of characters? Are people not going to get the spotlight? Some people going to be silenced or get only a couple minutes compared to other people. I think it's a very valid question. It was already done with Infinity War, right? And Endgame. But this cast is going to be way bigger than even that. And that was a big cast.
Yeah, I think it's a very valid concern. I think what they will do is they'll try to do the same kind of thing that Infinity War did, where they will have multiple things going on at once. Mm-hmm. Just like there was the one group on Titan and the one group fighting on Earth and Wakanda.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a very valid concern that, characters not get the spotlight. Is there going to be that character development? Because it's not that far away that this movie is supposed to release. Yeah,
they're officially in production, I do believe. Like I said, they already did it. Especially the Russo brothers. So, like, if anybody can do it, it's the Russo brothers. But they did it with Infinity War and Endgame. So they're obviously splitting it all between two movies, Doomsday and Secret Wars. But the character list is maybe even doubled now, if not even more than that. So what is this going to be, a 4-hour movie each? Which I don't think I would be opposed to, but the normal audience is probably not going to sit through a 4-hour movie.
What they will do is they're going to have a group of characters or certain characters. There's going to be something that happens where, like, they disappear. Like, maybe they're going to be sent off somewhere or, be in some sort of trouble. And so we'll see them in the movie, but then we won't see them until Secret Wars. And maybe they're like the X factor, like that they come back with something that can, change the course.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the Avengers are in trouble in Secret Wars and they come back with something that can, change the course of the battle or the war.
Wouldn't it be wild if they did this like 5-hour plus live stream to announce all these characters, right? Just the first batch too. And over half of them died within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, that could happen too. Like, because we all know that the MCU kind of wants to do a reset, we could see a lot of characters perish. Yeah.
So I think I am, at first, when we first looked at this question before we started here, I was like, there's no need to worry. I think they got it. But now, thinking about it more, I am a little concerned, to be honest, because I don't know how they're going to balance everything. Because not only do you have all these characters, but you have all their stories on top of that because of all their separate movies. And then you still have to introduce the biggest villain there is in Doctor Doom now, since, Kang is going to be gone. You still have to say what happened to Kang. Like, there's a lot that this movie has to do. Not even Secret Wars, just Doomsday has to do. So I am pretty concerned now that we're talking about it. Fuck.
Yeah, like, they can have like the epic battle scenes, but like, there's so many characters here that are not going to get like their own movie before
Mm-hmm.
Secret Wars comes out. So is the average audience going to be attached to these characters? I think personally what's going to happen is if they do kill people off, like it's going to be major
Yeah.
major characters
Yeah.
like Thor, maybe Doctor Strange,
Yeah.
or God forbid even Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like that's personally what I think would happen, and give the MCU its reset. They'll obviously probably kill off some other characters or do that in Secret Wars. But yeah, there is going to be a lot to keep track of, and unless you're a devoted Marvel fan, you read the comics and you know everything about everyone. This could make or break
Could.
the whole entire storyline.
It could. I think it's still going to make a lot of money just because the title Avengers, like the movie name is going to rake in the money, but Secret Wars the year after, could that suffer if Doomsday is not received well? I think absolutely. But we're gonna have to wait and see. Like I said, if it's a 4-hour movie because you have all these characters, I wouldn't mind it. I know you probably wouldn't mind it, but to the average audience, which is where 80% of all the money comes from, I don't think most of those people would like a 4-hour movie. 3 hours was already long with Infinity War or Endgame, whichever one was 3 hours.
Yeah, and I think another major question to ask, like who's gonna be the leader? Like
Yeah.
this big huge group of heroes that are fighting together. Like, is there going to be a leader, or maybe that's what like leads to defeat? Like maybe there isn't a leader. And
Yeah.
they're all just kind of fighting for themselves.
Yeah, I think a lot of these Avengers are all split up or have no communication with the upper echelon of the Avengers, like Doctor Strange and Thor and everything. So I don't know, honestly. Thinking about it now, I think it's pretty scattered to say who's going to lead the new Avengers when we don't even know who the leader is right now.
Yeah, and another thing that concerns me, like there's so many characters right now that have not had a team up, like already right now.
Yeah.
And now they're going to be bringing in the Fantastic Four and the X-Men.
Yeah.
So it's like right now it doesn't seem like there's really any kind of synergy.
Yeah. To me, this kind of feels like the big finish, which of course it is for this saga. But I think the reset is inevitable, and it will
Thanos.
Yeah, and it will be massive because I think Marvel, even though we both really enjoyed the multiverse story in the saga, and there are,
there's so many factors outside of like the control.
Yeah, even their own
kind of thrown it off.
Yeah, even their own control, like Jonathan Majors. I think it just did not work out the way they thought it would, and I think the reset is going to be really big because of that. I don't think we're going to start right from scratch like a new Iron Man movie to reset everything, not something like that, but I think everything's going to be a little more grounded, which is not a bad thing. But I am pretty concerned because I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's the Russo brothers, and they've done it before, so I do have faith that they can do it again.
Yeah, same here. So as we get to the end of the multiversal saga in a few years, we got to talk about the beginning, or like the reset, the new beginning. After a year of only having Deadpool and Wolverine, right? Because this is not the beginning of the multiverse saga.
Yes.
But I kind of feel like that it's kind of been like a soft reset.
The reset before the reset.
Yeah. So Captain America Brave New World. Now, I've seen it. Shay has not seen it. So we're not going to be discussing the movie or anything like that. But I'm going to give my opinion. To be honest, it was what I expected. I did not expect this movie to be anything spectacular. I did not expect for it to be anything special. I just expected it to be like a good, maybe solid to good movie. And it met expectations. I thought it was a good, solid movie. The acting was great. Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford had fantastic performances. Unfortunately for me, though, again, not going into too much detail, the story felt reused, kind of recycled, like that we've seen it before. There were a lot of moving parts, and there were characters that like I hadn't even heard of, and apparently that we haven't seen for over a decade. Again, trying not to give too much away. So for me, like, I was kind of like, you know, what's going on sort of thing. Like, I don't even know who this guy is or who this person is. I knew enough to follow it, but yeah, that was kind of my complaint. And that's what a lot of the reviews show, right? As of now, it has a 48% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's seems like it's the same of my opinion, just kind of perfectly mid. So
Yeah.
Is the MCU back after Captain America? Honestly, I don't know. I think I have to see more. And obviously we have the Thunderbolts coming out in May.
Yeah. Daredevil's doing good with it right now, right? But it's not as big as, you know, like a movie, Captain America movie, or the Thunderbolts coming up next. How, without spoilers, what do you think of, you know, the new Captain America, Sam Wilson, and how he'll fit into the future? Like, do you think they're fully behind him being Captain America, or was this kind of like a test? Like, I'm not too sure if.
I think the majority of the audience, in my opinion, is warming up to Anthony Mackie as Captain America. But there's always going to be that portion of the audience that's like, that's not Captain America.
Yeah.
Steve Rogers, Chris Evans is Captain America.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some people that cannot separate the two. And my thing is like, you have to separate the two. Like, he's taken the mantle on. He's Captain America. No, he's not Steve Rogers. Just like Harrison Ford said in the trailer. That was in the trailer. Which he's right. He's not Steve Rogers.
No.
But he is Captain America.
Are there any concerns though with him moving forward into Doomsday with the character? Do you think the movie did him justice, Brave New World, or were you a little concerned with it?
I don't think I think like the actor itself is good for Captain America, yeah, but the story that it used, it kind of, the reason, because it felt so recycled to me, I don't think it did enough justice. Like, they didn't really try something different.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for me, like, I kind of have to see more.
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
But yeah, again, it was what I expected, kind of a mid film. I think it was a little more towards, honestly, solid than good, but it was all right. Like, I didn't think it was a waste of time or anything. But yeah, for Anthony Mackie's Captain America, I kind of have to see more of that there. Because like in the Falcon the Winter Soldier, we hadn't really seen him as Captain America. Like, it was that kind of transition period, like between Steve Rogers, you know.
Yeah. Well, so that was like
he initially didn't want to be Captain America.
Yeah, and that was a great show, right? Like, that was a great series.
Was a good show to show like the struggle of like, oh, can I take on this mantle? Can I take on this legacy of my best friend? And
now, would you say the show or that series was better than the movie?
The show was definitely better than the movie.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, either way, like, it was a solid film, and I'll need to see more to get like a better opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for Thunderbolts. I think I think Thunderbolts will be a good movie. Like all the bad guys, like
Yeah.
coming together because there's no more heroes. You know, now they have to protect the Earth from problems, which
Yeah.
I think will be a great concept.
Yeah. Well, before we move on, we will touch up on Brave New World again after I watch it so we can talk about it a little more in depth. Hopefully, now that I'm on vacation, I'll be able to watch it and get our thoughts on it moving forward. But I'm happy with the MCU right at this current state just because I think they're doing a good job with Daredevil. But I still obviously have not seen Brave New World. But
I think too, real quick, something that Marvel suffered from as of now. I think the Disney Plus series and the movies, they're like so far apart from each other.
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the things personally to me that is kind of hurting the overall story.
Yeah. Well, like
I think there has to be like some sort of connection.
like we said last year too, when or maybe the beginning of this year in January actually, when the schedule was coming out for this year of the MCU, there were 3 MCU movies and 5 or 6 Disney Plus series. So they fell back into the pattern a few years ago where it was something going on all the time and you had so much to keep track of. And we were asking ourselves, are they falling back into the same old problem that bit their ass before? And is it going to be too much Marvel all at once? Like it's an entire year, no breaks.
Also, they would benefit, I think, from series that are just completely separate from the MCU. Like if they did the Blade series, and it just there's no connection to the MCU, it's literally just Blade. I'd be fine with that because they're just introducing all these new characters. It seems like every couple months, but there's nothing like the Infinity Saga, the first saga of the MCU. There's nothing to me that's really brought it all together.
Yeah. All right. Well, to wrap up Marvel here, because it's been a very good discussion for a while here. So CinemaCon 2025 is going on, but we have awful news that really pissed me the fuck off when I saw this. Everybody,
Come on, Sony.
the greatest, and you're hearing it from me, at least, the greatest Spider-Man movies ever. Any medium you want.
And I agree.
Spider-Man Into the Multiverse and whatever the first one was. I forget.
It was Into the Multiverse, the first one.
Oh, the second.
Cross.
Yeah. Oh my God. Best Spider-Man movies, period.
Yes.
The sequel, the third one, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, originally supposed to come out last year.
I think it wasn't even like half a year.
Yeah. Remember, it got delayed indefinitely. Has now finally had a release date. Yay! Woo!
So we're going to go see it this year, right?
Nope. June 4th, 2027.
What the fuck, Sony?
We have to wait over 2 years to see this movie that was supposed to come out last year. Last year! In 2024.
If I was at CinemaCon, I would have honestly been booing.
That's such a shame. Like, obviously, those movies are extremely difficult to make, but come on.
So long.
Anyway, and we also.
But hey, listen, but it might come out before GTA 6.
That is also true.
Just saying.
That is also true. Moving on to, there was a title reveal for Spider-Man 4, which is also coming out before Beyond the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man Brand New Day with Tom Holland. Wow. Did not expect that. Coming back to, reprise his role as Spider-Man, set to release next year, July 31st, 2026. And he is the first Spider-Man actor to get 4 solo films. Very nice.
Tom Holland.
Very
nice.
Nice.
Yeah. My favorite Spider-Man.
Yeah,
personally.
Mine too, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be really excited for this, especially because it takes place in New York City.
Yep.
Where we might see that tie-in with Daredevil, Kingpin,
That'd be awesome.
and maybe Miss Marvel too.
Yeah, and it's coming out before GTA 6 and Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. So there you go.
That's right. So we're really excited. Obviously, once Beyond the Spider-Verse finally releases, I'm gonna enjoy it, and I'm sure it's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah.
But man, that's a long time to wait.
Yeah.
Really
So
is.
that will do it for Marvel this week. Again, next week we will talk about episode 7 of Daredevil Born Again. But it is time to move on to ancient Greece now, right? Oh no, sorry. Still April.
Are those the same regions? Mesopotamia and
Nope. Mesopotamia is Iraq, the Middle East.
oh.
Yes. Which we do not need to dive into Middle Eastern politics. Thank you very much. So we're moving on to sports. MLB opening day has come and gone for the home teams that had opening day. The away teams still have to have their opening day. But it was a resounding success, except if you were at a Tampa Bay Rays game. Not because they did win. They're 3-1 in their opening series, which is great. But some fans were chanting something, right?
That's right. They were chanting, "Sell the team, Stu. Sell the team."
Oh,
The new A's.
Yep.
But I just want to say, buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. But I care if opening day is back. Because we are back. That's right. After sell the team chants, the Rays team celebrated with their first win against the Rockies in a 2-3 series win. And a win over the Pirates for a 3-1 record. Rookie Cameron Misner hit his first home run. Not only his first career home run, but also it was a walk-off home run win. First ever in MLB history.
woo!
So,
Congratulations.
Congrats to Cameron Misner.
That's awesome.
Prepare to be traded in 3 years if you evolve into a decent quality player.
You're not wrong.
Moving on to the Red Sox. 1-4.
Opposite. 1-4. Yep, we
Oof.
lost the opening series against Texas, 1-3, and we lost the first game in Baltimore at Camden Yards against the Orioles. Today, as of this recording, for some reason, we have an off day and then pick up against the Orioles tomorrow on Wednesday. Baseball is weird. But yeah, 1-4. The biggest note, though, is our 28-year-old young stud who last year we signed to a massive, I think it was 8-year, $300-some million contract extension. That's a lot of money. Is off to a historically bad start. Historic? What do you mean by historic, Shay? Well, let me tell you. To open up the year, designated hitter Rafael Devers with the Boston Red Sox is 0-19 at the plate with 15 of those 19 outs as strikeouts. This is
Not even a hit on base.
statistically for a hitter, because he's not a pitcher, so statistically for a hitter in a sport that is nearing 150 years old, the worst ever start for a hitter in Major League Baseball history.
Ouch.
Let's go dive in a little deeper, just because, he's my team.
Let's just rub more salt in that wound.
Yep. Devers, before this. Now, let me just say, it is extremely early in the year, so I do have faith he'll turn around. He will get a hit, at least one hit.
And disclaimer, we can't hit a fucking baseball to save our life.
Correct. Exactly. So, Devers has been one of the best hitters in baseball since 2019, posting 3 30 home run seasons and 3 100 RBI seasons, since 2019.
Which is pretty good.
Yes. But to start the year, In game 1, he went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. In game 2, he went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. In game 3, he went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. He did have a walk and an RBI because he walked on a bases loaded count. So, yay, there's still no hit, 0 for 4. Game 4, he was 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts and a walk. He walked.
Those walks are important.
And game 5, he went 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts and also 2 walks. So, what this is saying is he's seeing the ball and he's laying off bad pitches outside of the plate.
He's got good takes.
However, he is not making contact with the ball. So, he cannot gauge the speed at which the ball is coming, whether it be a fastball, changeup, breaking ball, whatever. He cannot get the timing down from the pitchers, and it's not good. So, like I said, 0 for 19 with 15 strikeouts to start the year. A couple walks in there. Yippee. Not a good start. The Sox overall are 1-4. Also not a good start. Our pitching has been good. We've only had one game so far that has gone above 4 runs. So our pitching has been good, starting and from the bullpen. But our offense revolves around Devers. So if he is slumping, which obviously he is, we ain't doing shit. That's just the truth. So of course, is not the start I wanted, but I think it's so early. I still think we'll be okay.
It's 5 games out of how many?
162.
162. So, but as a Rays fan, continue Devers to do what you're doing.
Okay.
But at least you have a stadium.
Yeah, at least we're not selling the team.
Yeah. So I basically can't say anything to you anymore. Moving on, we're going to talk about a notable team because the New York Yankees. That's right. To start out the season, sweep their series against the Milwaukee Brewers, outscoring them 36-14 in 3 games.
That's a lot.
Tied an MLB record with 15 home runs in their first 3 games. The second game, I think, they had 9 home runs and 3 came from Aaron Judge. So, yeah, the Bronx, what do they call them? The Bronx
Bombers.
Bombers are hot right now, but in a non-traditional way.
Yeah. Apparently, a physicist, I think,
Like an MIT,
created a new baseball bat. He put the mass of the bat, where the most weight is, in the sweet spot of the bat, where you would hit the ball, instead of throughout the bat like a traditional baseball bat. So, in theory, having most of the weight in that sweet spot would lead to harder hit balls or higher exit velocity on balls that are hit, which would lead to more power, balls hit farther, more home runs, so on and so forth. This is not against the rules. Otherwise, it never would have made it to Major League Baseball this year anyway. So as of right now, I should say it's not against the rules. That could absolutely change the rule after the year's over. But the torpedo bat is real, but the Yankees are not the only team using it. They are the most notable team for sure, but they are not the only team using it. There are players throughout the league that are using the torpedo bats. I think they look kind of ugly myself. But if they work, I mean, they work.
Yeah, so real quick, the inventor of the torpedo bat is Aaron Lienhardt. He was an MIT physicist, former MIT physicist that invented the torpedo bat. And just so, you know, we love for everybody to be mad at the Yankees for this, but like Shay said, not the only players that are using this new bat, because Ellie De La Cruz for the Reds last night hit 2 homers and 7 RBIs with the torpedo bat.
That's right. So could we see the torpedo bat get banned after the year? Absolutely. Is it going to happen? Probably, because that's how baseball works. The very traditionalist sport. But, I mean, if it leads to more exciting moments and home runs, I'm all for it.
Yeah. So
Unless it's the Yankees.
I mean, there's plenty of people, even with the changes that they've made over the years, like the pitch clock, they still complain about the game being boring. So maybe the MLB might look at the bats and be like, you know what? This is might be a little unfair, but might be good for viewership.
Yeah.
You know, more people watch the game. So we'll see what happens. So in the standings, there are 3 undefeated teams remaining. The Yankees, the LA Dodgers, and the San Diego Padres. The 3 teams remaining without a single win, the Milwaukee Brewers, the Atlanta Braves, and the Minnesota Twins.
Mm-hmm.
So got teams that are seeking their first loss or not seeking their first loss, and
seeking
3
their
teams
first win.
seeking their first win.
What is cool that I think it would be at least wise to look at for all the other sports to do. MLB this year for the World Series champion changed on their uniform specifically their names and their numbers to gold. So all the Dodgers uniforms have their names and numbers in gold, and that's pretty
cool.
It's pretty cool.
That would be really cool to see in other sports.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like, you're the defending champs. Why not? Just one team. That's it. I think it's pretty cool.
That is cool. I would definitely love to see it on other sports. So next up, bit of major news here. Atlanta Braves outfielder Jurickson Profar was suspended 80 games for a performance-enhancing drugs policy violation. So, yeah, 80 games. Wait a minute.
Don't do drugs.
What else does this entitle, Shay?
Well, he'll be back after his 80-game suspension. You know, he's not going to miss the entire regular season.
Obviously, it's also without pay.
Correct. He'll be back to play for the Braves, and he'll be fine and all that. But some little sneaky rule here by MLB. If the Braves make the playoffs, which, I mean, they probably will. It's the Braves. He will not be able to play with the team, which is pretty wild. And at least for me, I'm a big fan of that rule.
No, that is. I don't personally think the NHL does that. I don't know if the NFL or the NBA do that.
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, that is a good rule to discourage that kind of thing, because that is a major violation.
Yeah.
And, you know, in a competitive sport, that can give a huge advantage.
Yeah, agreed.
Unfair advantage. So, if other leagues don't do it, they should. In my opinion, definitely.
I agree.
So let us know what you think about MLB opening day in the comments below. Any of your teams and how you think they're doing. Sorry, Brewers fans, not sorry, Braves fans.
Yeah.
But we're gonna move on to our college coverage.
The NCAA.
Yeah, we don't have any cool music that plays or anything like that. So college coverage. First up, NCAA men's basketball. March Madness is still going on, but it is winding down. To do a little recap, since the Sweet 16, there was not a single upset in the men's bracket.
Nope.
All 4 number 1 seeds made it to the Final Four. The Final Four matchups are Florida versus Auburn and Houston versus Duke, which takes place on April 5th.
This is only the second time in NCAA history that all 4 number 1s made it to the Final Four. So this is very, very rare.
Yeah. And as we all know, there's no more perfect brackets, but there were plenty of brackets that did have all 4 number 1 seeds making it to the Final Four. So we will see what happens on April 5th to see who plays for the NCAA men's championship.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to the women's side, there were also a lack of upsets since the Sweet 16. But UConn beat USC 78-64 in the Elite Eight, which was an upset. And the Final Four is set for April 4th, which is going to be Texas versus South Carolina and UConn versus UCLA. South Carolina is trying to go back-to-back.
Yeah, they were in trouble over the weekend in their game and almost did not make it to the Final Four, but they came back and won.
Yeah, so there's your Final Four for the women's as well. And then finally for college, I want to talk a little bit about NCAA hockey because that is my favorite sport. So Michigan State, who Lightning prospect Isaac Howard is on. So for me, it's notable. They were the number 2 seed, but Cornell, which was the number 4 seed, stuns them in the final seconds to win 4-3. Scores with 8 seconds left in the third.
Jeez.
To give them the win.
Wow.
Absolute stunner. And Michigan State was also their conference championships. I think ACC champions. So big upset there. And then a game that I watched, Penn State versus UConn. Both teams were looking for their first Frozen Four appearance in school history. And Penn State gets the win in an OT thriller, upsetting UConn 3-2.
Damn.
That was a fantastic game. I watched all the overtime. The goalies were making fantastic saves, very smart plays, but it took that one mistake by UConn.
Yeah.
To give Penn State the win.
Yeah. And you said that was UConn's first ever appearance in just the tournament.
Yeah, I think if they had won, they would have been the first team since 2013 in their first appearance in the tournament go to the Frozen Four.
Wow.
So, yeah, crazy game there. And the only other upset was that Denver knocked off number 1 seeded Boston College. That was the 2024 finals rematch when Denver won last year against Boston College. So the Frozen Four matchups are going to be Penn State versus Boston University and Denver versus Western Michigan on April 10th. And Denver is trying to go back-to-back in hockey. So,
all right.
Really excited for that and really excited to watch men's basketball as well and the women's basketball. So we will be doing our recaps for you when that happens. So with that, we're going to take our break here. So don't go anywhere. If you've listened to this point, thank you so much.
Yes.
And don't forget to like, subscribe so you don't miss out.
Hey, that subscribe button, it's not always red.
No?
If you're on the dark theme like I am, it's white.
Oh.
So
I might have been telling people
to
hit the wrong button.
So hit the red button, or if you're using dark theme on your phone, computer, tablet, however you use YouTube. Hit the red or the white button.
That's right. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I did not know that. So yeah, thank you guys for continuing to listen. Don't go anywhere. We will see you all very soon. Welcome back, everyone, after the break. Moving right on to the second half, we're going to be discussing the NFL because there were some proposed rule changes.
Wait, this isn't the Mesopotamia podcast?
No, actually, we're now moving on to the Black Plague.
What?
No, just kidding.
April Fool!
Yeah, there were some rule changes proposed. The owners had meetings this past week. So we're going to discuss some of them, starting off with the Philadelphia Eagles submitting a rule for OT, and it's going to apply. The proposed rule was for it to apply to the regular season as they do in the playoffs. So if a team has the ball, they win the coin toss, they get the ball, and they score a touchdown, then the opposing team has the opportunity to match that score.
And then it's sudden death after that.
Yeah. So it was passed. Both teams in the regular season now will also have a chance to possess the ball and match the score. The original proposal was apparently for a 15-minute OT, but that was amended to 10 minutes.
I think that's fair. Each team will get at least one possession. 10 minutes is plenty of time for a one possession game for either team. I think, and you don't want the game to be even longer than it already is, So I think that's a great rule. And the amendment to 10 minutes, I think, is very fair.
Yeah, initially I thought like, okay, this might have the games like drag on, but we don't really see overtime that often in the regular season or the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's very rare. So I think this is a good rule. So good on the Eagles, the defending Super Bowl 2025 champions.
Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to. I'm not going to sing the whole thing.
Yes.
But yes.
Good rule for them. Another rule that was proposed was changes to the kickoff rules, mainly that the touchback will now be at the 35-yard line instead of the 30, and the NFL projects a 60 to 70% increase in returns.
Yep, that was the original proposed rule last year before the season started, where the touchback was going to be at the 35, but the NFL said no, it needs to be at the 30. Teams were still kicking balls out of the end zone for touchbacks, so now there's another 5 yards added to a touchback. So instead of starting at the 20 like they used to way back, or the 25 like more recently, now they get a full 10 yards for free. And that is a big difference. That is a big field change difference. So I think this will absolutely see a lot more kick returns instead of touchbacks.
Yeah. So next, the Detroit Lions proposal for eliminating automatic first down penalties for defensive holding and illegal contact was rejected.
I think as it should be. I'm fine with the rule as it stands.
Yeah, me as well. And another rule that was approved was expanded replay assist. So officials will now have the ability to reverse flags for penalties, including hits, fouls, and roughing the kicker, to name a few examples.
Yeah, I think that's a great rule. The replay assist has sped up games and helped reverse calls already that were bad calls without having to go to New York and review the replays. Like, there's already someone looking at it all. I think it makes the game smoother with less interruptions. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Some rules that were delayed until May were changes to onside kick rules, playoff seeding based on regular season records instead of division winners, and the banning of the tush push. But before we get to the tush push, I found the playoff seeding based on regular season records very interesting. I personally don't like it because then what's the point of divisions?
Correct. Yeah.
Like that's for me, that's like the argument right there.
That's the NBA. No one cares about the divisions in the NBA. It literally never gets talked about. All it is East and West. So, because the records matter as far as seeding. So I would not like it either.
I know people are upset, especially like throughout the years, the last few years, especially, for example, like the NFC South has been such a weak division.
Mm-hmm.
So teams have been able to clinch a playoff spot by winning the division with a 7-10 record or 8-9 record. And there's been some teams that have been in strong divisions that have had 10-5 records that have actually missed the playoffs.
Yep.
Or 11-5 or 11-6. I think for me, like, it's not that team's fault that they're in a weak division. So, kind of, for me, I think it discourages like the competition within the division. And I think divisions, they have to matter because you play your division twice every year.
Yeah, agreed.
So that right there for me, like, kind of eliminates that argument. Like, that shouldn't be a rule change.
Yeah.
So now, getting to the tush push, which we all know Shay is a big fan of. It was initially proposed by the Green Bay Packers. 16 teams were in favor of banning the tush push, but you need 24 votes to pass the rule.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that 16 teams were even in favor of it. I'm glad it's not at the 24, but it was delayed to the May meetings, so there is still a possibility that it will get passed, and next year there will not be any more tush push, or as Philadelphia people call it, the brotherly shove. Um, so I would hate to see it go, but I mean, if the rule passes, that's the rule, and we got to do something else.
Yeah, for me, I think it wouldn't be a good thing to ban the tush push. Now, if it was a play that was like 100% success rate just for the Eagles, then you could view it as like an exploit or something like that. But it doesn't succeed all the time, and other teams do it. I think the Eagles are just the best at doing it.
Yeah,
and
they are.
I think to ban this rule, I think it discourages creativity in the NFL. You know, trying to come up with more ways to win and score, and it discourages the other teams from coming up with schemes to combat those plays.
That's right.
So, in my opinion, I don't think they should ban the tush push for that reason.
Yeah, I agree.
It's been proven that you can stop it. Other teams have tried it and been successful at it, but for the Eagles, they're just the best.
Exactly.
And isn't it interesting that Green Bay proposed this rule after they lost to you guys in the wild card?
Very interesting.
Sounds like a little salt is being poured on those cheese graters.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let us know if any of these rules you think are good or bad, and do you think they should ban the tush push? Let us know in the comments. Finally, for the NFL, we just wanted to do a little draft preview because on Friday we're going to be recording our first mock draft video.
What?
Really excited for that. It's just going to be the top 10 because we don't have the time or the knowledge to go through every single first round prospect and every team. So we're going to just do the top 10
of our teams. We
will also do the Bengals, who are drafting 17th, and the Eagles, your defending Super Bowl champions, drafting at 32.
That's right.
So look out for that. But for our initial impressions of the draft, Shay, what do you think of this draft? Is it a deep class? Is it a weak class? And maybe positions, the strongest positions, the weakest positions? What do you think of the 2025 NFL draft class?
I think the draft this year is not as strong as it was last year. Last year's draft class, a lot of people would consider to be one of the strongest ever. But this year, it's definitely not as strong. We still have 5 quarterbacks that are projected to go in the first round, which is a good clip. However, outside of those 5 and the names of Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, Ashton Genty, and the Penn State edge rusher, whose name Abdul Carter. There we go. Abdul Carter. Outside of those guys, and then, like I said, the 5 quarterbacks, a lot of these people, these players, are not as well known. So I think it's not necessarily like a weak draft class per se. It's just definitely not as strong as last year. I think the strongest position, though, is still going to be quarterback. Again, 5 in the first round. After they all go, though, there's a pretty sharp decline, pretty sharp drop off. But the defense side of the ball should be pretty good too. Abdul Carter, I mean, if the Titans didn't need a quarterback, he would be the number 1 pick. Right. No questions asked. He's that good as far as the defensive end goes. So, yeah, that's kind of my take.
Now, for me, there's been a lot of talk of the Titans potentially trading first overall pick. My personal prediction is I think that they will trade the first overall pick and look to getting a QB in the next draft, which is supposedly supposed to be a better class than this year.
Right.
So that's my personal opinion. Obviously, we know Will Levis, the meme machine, is most likely not going to work out as an NFL starter. But we'll see. The Titans are still looking to be competitive. And, maybe they keep the first overall pick, which is projected to be Cam Ward.
They did have schedule another private workout with Cam Ward, though, so signaling that they might actually take him instead of trading.
Yeah. Other than that, Ashton Genty is projected to go to the Raiders because they need a running back after letting Josh Jacobs go.
Yeah.
I could potentially see him sliding, but he had such a good college season that I think if he was still available, I think it'd be very hard to pass up.
Yeah. I mean, no, if I would love Genty, but Eagles don't need him.
No. Yeah, other than that, I agree with everything you said. There's always going to be those gems that you find in later rounds, and
Brock Purdy, Tom Brady.
Exactly. So, and to me, like, it's not the draft that matters, it's development. That's the most important part.
Correct.
So, yeah, we'll see how the draft class turns out, and be sure to look out for our new video coming out very soon.
That's right.
All right.
Moving on. All right.
All right.
All right. Moving on to NASCAR. Well, we had a weekend, which, like we do every week, we have a weekend. So this past weekend was another weekend that involved NASCAR because it is the middle of the NASCAR season.
And it's NASCAR weekend.
And it's NASCAR weekend. Although a break is coming up because for the first time in like 5 years, they're taking a bye week or a break on Easter weekend. Xfinity, we're actually talking about Xfinity here to start off with because it was pretty dramatic at the very end. Austin Hill did win at Martinsville this past weekend. Love that track, the paperclip. He did secure his 100th win for Richard Childress Racing, RCR. Taylor Gray, though, and Sammy Smith wrecked on the final lap, trying to, win the race, battling for the lead, caused a huge pileup, and Austin Hill just slid right into those DMs. And one
slid in the Martinsville DMs and said, "Baby, let me come to victory lane."
That's right. Rode all the way to victory lane, and I got. And you said it was Hamlin that had some choice words after that race, right?
Yeah. He said like that NASCAR should kind of put their foot down, and that he said he kind of alluded to a problem that the minor league Xfinity has had for years, that they're not doing enough to kind of, teach these kids, quote unquote,
like
kids,
how to race. Yeah.
Like, maturity, how to race cleanly, and that they just want to go out there and wreck people.
Yeah.
So, what's your opinion? What's like the line between intentionally wrecking someone? Because it looked like Sammy Smith intentionally wrecked Taylor Gray. But like, what's the difference between that and just like a good, like hard fought battle for the lead?
There is a fine line. I wouldn't say it's always cut and clear and it's this way or that way. There is a fine line. Excuse me, but good, hard, aggressive racing is what everybody wants to see.
I personally love it when you're side by side, last lap, rubbing up on each other, pause, and bumping in, get them loose up the track, and then they try to come back. I love that. I love contact.
Yeah,
for sure.
Especially like NASCAR is around the world. It's one of the biggest racing series. NASCAR, of the biggest racing series, is the only one that is like that. IndyCar, they can't. You'll wreck really bad and very scarily. People have died. Formula One, you touch it, the car falls apart because they're so expensive. But NASCAR is really only like that. So that's one of the unique things about NASCAR that makes it so exciting to watch. However, intentionally wrecking somebody, just spinning someone out for either no reason, to retaliate, or spinning them out to win, spinning them out from the back, turning them around, or how, like we saw last weekend, being pretty far away, but braking super late to slam into the back of the driver in front of you to spin them out and then ultimately yourself, or getting side by side and shoving that person up into the wall. That's not okay. That's disrespectful. Most importantly, it's dangerous. And God forbid, you took someone's life or ended someone's career because of that. That's not okay. That's not what we want to see. That's the opposite. Good, hard, aggressive racing that's respectful. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, well said. I totally agree. Excuse me. Yeah, for that kind of finish, I totally agree. Like Taylor Gray closed off the inside lane, and Smith, accelerated and got into him when he didn't have a lane and spun him out right on the turn. So
Yeah.
to me, that was intentionally wrecking somebody to try to win the race.
Yeah.
And it didn't pay off for him. And it certainly didn't pay off for the 10 other drivers that he took out.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's another thing, not just you or the person you're wrecking, but like, as we see time and time again, it just has a chain reaction. And then you take half the field out. Well, now not only have you taken the guy that you wanted to take out and yourself out of the race, but now you've just taken out all these people that were bystanders.
Yeah, and now you're not only pissing off those drivers, but the owners who have to pay the money to repair those race cars. Oof, I would not want to be an owner.
Yeah.
But that is the Xfinity race. Little insight into the minors, as Jared said, minor league of NASCAR. Moving on to the Cup Series, though, also, Martinsville, the paperclip. Christopher Bell did win pole, he is having a very hot start to the year. However, Denny Hamlin did hold him off to win his 6th career grandfather clock Martinsville win, tying Rusty Wallace for 11th on all-time wins list at 55, and now he is automatically, once again, in the playoffs.
But as we all know, for Denny Hamlin's career, the big question is, can he win when it matters most? Still seeking that first NASCAR championship. And I'm going to say it again. I know people like to hate on Denny Hamlin, but I do hope he wins a championship. If not, he would probably go down as the greatest driver in NASCAR history to never win a championship.
Yeah, probably.
So, we'll see. But he is pretty much locked into the playoffs for another go around at the Cup.
Yeah, I don't personally like Denny. I think I've said that before. But his career, him as a driver, like, he is one of the best in the business for sure. Like, it would be a shame to see him not win. Next week we go to Darlington, and the throwback cars are fucking awesome. Let me tell you.
What was it? Who drives the number 5 right now?
Kyle Larson.
Yeah, it was the Mark Martin throwback.
Terry Labonte.
Oh no!
Yes,
I got that wrong.
Terry.
That was after.
Yep, Terry Labonte. The Kellogg's Tiger scheme from early 2000s. That is coming back. William Byron in the 24 is driving a throwback scheme to Jeff Gordon's final paint scheme in his final race. So
Exalta.
Yeah, so
like
it's going to be awesome. Darlington is this upcoming weekend.
All right. So yeah, there's NASCAR. Moving on to the NBA, we're going to be discussing the standings for all of you, and some news across the league and some wild games that took place this past week. Starting off with the Lakers and Bulls game, Josh Giddey hits an insane half-court buzzer beater to win the game for Chicago after the Lakers had taken the lead with like 4 seconds left. And before that, LeBron had a very lazy pass to give up the lead to the Bulls. So just back and forth, wild, like it's like a 30-second sequence.
Yeah.
Just insane. That's probably the most wild finish I've seen in any NBA game I've ever watched.
Yeah, it was very wild. And you can just tell things are starting to heat up a little bit because we were very close to the playoffs.
That's right. Another game that really heated up and boiled over was the Pistons and Wolves game. Boils over in a courtside brawl spilling into the crowd. After 5 players and 2 coaches were ejected from the game, the NBA today handed out suspensions for those 5 players. 4 of them got 1 game, and Isaiah Stewart, I believe, of the Pistons got 2 games.
I'm all for a brawl and people fighting and stuff, but when it spills over into the stands and into the fans, I don't like seeing that.
No, yeah, there was one guy like that threw his hands up. He's like, I don't want no part of this. It's pretty funny. Another bit of news, surprising actually. Memphis Grizzlies head coach Taylor Jenkins was fired. A little bit of older news, but it's very surprising because the team still has a really great record and they're in a playoff position. But I guess after a rough stretch and in danger of losing home court advantage in their matchup, they decided to let him go.
Damn.
So
it's pretty wild.
That would be like the Lightning right now firing John Cooper, when they're in second place in the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Like that's, to me, it's just wild. So I don't know if there was anything going between him and the players. We don't really know. But yeah, pretty interesting there for the Grizzlies.
Yeah. To touch up on the standings a little bit, only thing that's really different, the Celtics and the Knicks officially clinched in the East. Quick note, the last 10 games, the Celtics are 9-1. They're on a 9-game win streak. And the Cavs are 5-5 in the last 10. So the Celtics are only 4 games behind for that number 1 seed coming into the final stretch of the regular season. The Bulls and Heat did switch spots a little bit. The Heat are now 9th. The Bulls are 10th, only a game ahead of the Bulls. But the Heat are actually on a 5-game win streak. Where is this coming from?
Yeah, late rally. I'll be honest, I haven't watched any NBA games lately. Unfortunately, though, no matter what, I don't think we're going to do anything in the playoffs.
Yeah. But also, the Nets, 76ers, Hornets, and Wizards are all now eliminated, with the Toronto Raptors, the final team below the cutoff line, not yet eliminated. So there's literally just one team left fighting for a playoff spot in the East, but they are 5 games back.
Which really shows you the disparity between the East and the West.
Correct, because in the West, nothing has changed from last week, except for the Suns now falling out of a playoff spot. But the Oklahoma City Thunder is still the only team on the Western side to clinch a spot at all. They clinched their conference a long time ago, but they're still the only team that has clinched a spot, which is crazy.
Yeah, and they now have the best interconference record in NBA history, sitting at 27-1.
Shit.
So historic numbers being put up for the Thunder.
Yeah, so the West is where it's going to get wild right here the last week or 2 of the year. Nobody's clinched yet. So there's a lot up for grabs, and there's only the same 2 teams as last week are eliminated. There's still 3 teams below the cutoff line trying to get in.
Yeah, so there's only 2 teams that have been eliminated in the West and 4 teams eliminated in the East.
Yeah.
And I think every team that's in 1 through 10 has at least close to a 500 record.
Yes, and as we said last week, the Thunder are a mile away from second place at 14.5 game lead. Everyone from 2nd to 10th, though, is all within 10 games of themselves. So it is wild.
Yeah, we could see like switches of spots from basically game to game now. So we'll see how it all shakes down before the playoffs. Clinching scenarios tonight. The Pacers can clinch a playoff spot with an Atlanta loss, and the Bulls can clinch the play-in with a win. And then if Toronto loses tonight, then they'll be eliminated.
Tonight, as of this recording on Tuesday.
Yeah. So there's the standings there. And for the Suns falling out of the playoff race, it's not going to get any better because Kevin Durant is now out with a left ankle sprain.
That's right. The superstar, one of the best players in the entire association, is gone. And I don't think the Suns are going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, which would be very disappointing for the Suns.
Extremely.
So maybe that will lead to Kevin Durant wanting a trade out of Phoenix.
Could. Very well could.
So we'll see what happens there. But that's going to do it for the NBA. And to get to our final point of the podcast, we're going to finally talk about the NHL, my favorite sport. For the standings, to go through real quick, nothing has changed. The Stars have clinched a playoff position, and there's a pretty tight race right now for the Atlantic Division.
Mm-hmm.
The Maple Leafs, the Lightning, and the Panthers are all within 3 points of each other.
Extremely close.
So they're hopping positions left and right. Same with the wild card race in the East. There are still, 5 teams that still have a shot.
Yeah.
So it's getting wild. Chicago, San Jose, Nashville, and Seattle have all been eliminated from the playoffs. And for the clinching scenarios for tonight, as of this recording, so the Hurricanes will clinch a playoff berth if, and this is going to get a little complicated because there are overtime loss points in hockey.
Yes.
So the clinching scenarios, the Carolina Hurricanes will clinch a playoff berth if the Canadiens lose to the Panthers or the Blue Jackets lose to the Predators. The Idle Maple Leafs will clinch if the Canadiens or Blue Jackets lose in any fashion. The Tampa Bay Lightning will clinch a playoff spot if they beat the Islanders and the Canadiens and Blue Jackets lose in regulation. So they need a lot to happen, but they'll still be in the playoffs. The Panthers will clinch if they beat the Canadiens in regulation and the Blue Jackets lose in regulation. And then the Golden Knights will clinch if they beat the Oilers. They'll also get in if they get 1 point versus the Oilers, so if it goes to overtime, and either if the following happens. The Flames lose to Utah, or the Blues lose to the Red Wings in regulation.
Okay.
And then a third option is Vegas clinches if the Flames lose in regulation.
Okay.
So it does get complicated with that overtime loss point, but those are your clinching scenarios for tonight. So we will see if any of these teams or none of these teams clinch a spot. So moving on, I wanted to talk a little bit about a very hot team right now in the NHL. Since March 1st, they've been the best team in the league, the St. Louis Blues.
Oh, who's their head coach?
Jim Montgomery.
Oh, okay. That's
so
weird.
That's also why I want to talk about
That's
this.
a weird coincidence.
Yeah, the Blues are 12-2-1 since March 1st, and they're right now on a 9-game winning streak.
Huh. Weird.
And they were well out of the playoffs since the beginning of January.
Yeah.
But after getting red hot, not only are they pretty secure in that second wild card spot, but they have a chance to catch the Minnesota Wild in that first wild card spot.
It's almost like Jim Montgomery is a good coach and turned the team around to get this push to the playoffs.
Yeah, and right now they have some notable injuries. One of their top 4 defensemen is out with injury.
It's almost like he's like the best coach in the league, but okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. As of right now, the Blues have a 40-28-7 record, 87 points, 1 point back of the first wild card, and
everything's fine.
They're 5 points ahead of Calgary right now. For the Bruins, who let him go, they are 30, 35-9 with 69 points. And they're not really in the race. They're 8 points back, and they don't have games in hand. So there you go, Jim Montgomery. Way to stick it to Boston.
As you should.
So
as you should.
Shea's not upset about that. That's what he wanted to happen. He's not crying. He's actually laughing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had something in my eye. What? Huh?
He's actually laughing because Don Sweeney and Cam Neely need to get out of Boston.
Yeah, no. Jim is, as I said when we fired his ass, I hope we don't make the playoffs, and Montgomery deserves to win or go to the playoffs, and fuck it. I hope he wins the Stanley Cup.
You know what's really interesting about this? In 2019, when the Blues won the Cup, this has been pretty much the same exact scenario that they were in that year.
Oh, yeah.
Middle of the standings, middling team, start in January, get red hot, make the playoffs, and go to the final and win the Cup.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be something if the Blues did what they did and Jim Montgomery lifts that Stanley Cup?
I hope they
says,
do.
Fuck you, Boston.
I hope they do.
Yeah. So, yeah, congrats to the Blues on a very impressive run. It's been, very impressive to watch. And we'll see how the NHL playoff picture shakes down for next week. And we will be recapping it every week because we are getting down to the wire.
Well, we have a few games left.
That's right. So, finally, by the way, thank you for listening if you're still listening because this is a long episode. But finally, we're going to talk about the Philadelphia Flyers because John Tortorella, head coach of the Flyers, was fired.
No more awesome press conferences.
Nope.
Or interviews.
That's right. Assistant coach Brian Shaw was named as the interim head coach, but they are expected to commence the search for a new head coach starting in the offseason. Apparently, Tortorella had an altercation between himself and young defenseman Cam York. So that was interesting.
I mean, Tortorella is known as a really tough coach, though. So is it that surprising or?
No, but I guess apparently according to the reporting, there were things that were said. There wasn't punching, but to that, according to them, lines were crossed.
Yeah,
that's really all that was said. So I'm sure we'll find out about it eventually, but that could have motivated the firing. We're not really sure. But with that firing, their young rookie, Matvei Michkov, exploded offensively. He has 11 points in his last 6 games. So the question is, was Tortorella's defensive, gritty, playoff-style coaching holding the Use offense back?
I mean, very well could have been. If it's still wait to see, I would say. But if this continues to the end of the year, you could absolutely make that argument.
Yeah, I believe the first 2 games that they played, they scored 13 goals, 7 and 6. So, but asterisk there. Usually, when a team fires their coach, they do kind of have a boost. That's usually what happens. So we'll see what happens for the rest of the season. But in my personal opinion, I think they would have let Tortorella go anyway.
Probably, yeah.
For the offseason because, he is that gritty defensive style coach. And that does take away offense and creativity away. Yeah. Especially with younger players.
Yeah, and the rebuild with him just hasn't come to fruition like they thought.
No. They almost made the playoffs the last couple of years, but when you're in a rebuild, you need top draft picks.
Yeah.
That's your priority.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Torts is gone. I will miss the interviews. And he has said that this was going to be his last head coaching job. So we'll see where he ends up. Maybe he goes to another organization, becomes a president of hockey operations or GM. So we'll see.
Maybe he goes on TV.
Oh, can you imagine him as an analyst or something? That would be pretty fun.
That would be.
So yeah, that is going to do it for this episode. Just saying. Hopefully you've enjoyed it just as much as we have. It was a very long episode.
We want to apologize. Every week, just like any other YouTuber, right? Or any other podcaster, we tell you to like. We don't tell you. We ask you. Sorry. We ask you to like and subscribe and share and all that stuff. But we have found out that we have been lying. And we've been misleading the public, which here at Just Saying is not anything we ever want to do. So from the bottoms of our hearts,
we really made a mistake.
We are sorry.
So sorry. We can't believe that we've made this mistake, and we have to apologize.
We shouldn't have assumed. You know what they say about assuming. Make an ass out of you and me. And what happened? Well, we were assuming, and now look at us. We look like asses.
Yeah. So this mistake can really change the course of this podcast. And we're here to rectify it.
Yep.
And make right. So
moving forward,
we want to tell you guys to hit that white, black, or red subscribe button.
Yes. It is not just red, and we are sorry.
Yeah. That's right. No matter what the color.
If you see the word subscribe.
No matter the color, we want you to hit that subscribe button when it says subscribe.
Please.
And thank you so much for subscribing so you don't miss out on future content. And, if you're on YouTube, you get day early access to this podcast.
That's right.
So that's cool. And if you just found that out, good for you.
And if you listen on Spotify or any other platform, we still love you. Please, know that. We still love you. Even though one of our episodes doesn't have audio, but it's okay. That happens.
I will be fixing.
That happens. But we still love you, but YouTube's where it's at.
That's right. YouTube, it's been really great to see the growth lately. It's not a lot, but we've been noticing, more average listeners and viewers on our videos. So thank you guys so much for that. And we're really excited to see where we go in the future. Again, be sure to look out for videos that are coming out soon, including our MLB standings video and the mock draft. And yeah, that's going to do it for today's episode. So again, thank you guys so much, and we will see you in the next one.